Our next storyteller is a regular here at Mill Valley Library and a regular performer at storytelling shows around the Bay Area. She performs and tells stories at The Moth in San Francisco, at The Marsh in Berkeley. She actually is a Moth Grand Slam champion. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of a big deal in the storytelling thing. You perform at the Castro. It's fun. And I didn't know this. She actually works at the Fairfax Library. Does that make you a rival? I don't know what that means. I don't know if Fairfax and Mill Valley got beef. Is it cool? It's just like having LeBron up in here. Anyway, all right. So anyway, she's a friend. She performs here. Give it up for Neshama Franklin. Come on, Mill Valley, show some love. Yeah, you do.
Take it away. I am so glad to be here. I've been sitting in those seats and wanting to be here, and now I actually am. But I have to tell you where this story takes place. I'm standing on a stage, almost naked, and they're starting to laugh. And this is not a bad dream. This is real life. What am I, a mother of toddlers, doing in this place? Well, it all started because in New York City, I was a dancer, and we moved to San Francisco, and I said, who should I study with? And they all said, well, that Ann Halpern, that's what we called her then, she's doing some interesting things. So I trotted down from Divisadero Street, Upper Divisadero, to 321 Divisadero to Dancers Workshop Theater. And there I met A.A. Leith. He was the teacher. We never found out what A.A. stood for. And sure enough, we were doing interesting things. We were balling up newspaper and throwing it around and taking off our clothes and rolling around in it and climbing on cargo nets. It was very interesting and very exciting. Now, he also had toddlers, and you don't earn a lot of money as an avant-garde dance teacher. And so he thought of an incredible gig. He went down to North Beach to the Roaring Twenties nightclub. And he said, look, this was the summer of love, by the way. There are all these tourists who want the psychedelic experience, but Haight Street is dirty and scary. And so they could be sitting in your nightclub clutching their drinks, and we can bring it to them. Thus was born the hippie dance of love. But, you don't do it by yourself. You need a partner. And he chose from his class, he chose me. And I couldn't believe it. I was going to get paid for what I love to do, improvising. And so there I was, launched on my professional dance career. And the first thing I needed was something to take off. So I went to Britex Fabrics, and I found this piece of translucent fabric, kind of looked like a light show. And I made a caftan, easy on, easy off. And I also made a G-string. I was not going to shell out $8 for a triangle of fabric and a couple of pieces of elastic. So I was ready, and down to the Roaring Twenties I went. It's a kind of fin de siècle nightclub, as it were. It has flocked wallpaper. And the iconic figure is the girl on the swing, a gilded swing. She looks like a Vargas pinup. She has cascading hair and big blue eyes and pneumatic breasts and long legs and pointed feet. I didn't exactly look like that. I tried to grow my hair long because I was a dancer, but it grew wide. And I kind of squinted through new contact lenses. And indeed, my breasts were bigger than they'd been before because I had these toddlers, but not that big. And my legs were short and my feet didn't point. So what did AA look like? Well, he had kind of stiff hair. He tried to grow long. He wore a headband, and he had a beard, and he had rimless glasses and a very stern expression and bandy legs. He looked more like a kind of grumpy botanist than he did like a hippie. But he wore a loincloth and love beads and the headband. That was his costume. And here were the rules of the hippie dance of love. We came out from opposite corners, kind of like, boxers. And we circled each other. And then we just kind of did whatever was on our minds or in our hearts or in wherever else it lay. And, improvisational. But off came, of course, the garment. And then the end of the dance, it had to happen. We were to lie in close proximity on this grimy carpeted platform. And so there I was, my maiden voyage, and off came the captain, and that's when they started to laugh. But, I did this Aikido move in my head. I must have prepared it. I said to myself, what I'm doing is absolutely absurd. And so I'm going to camp it up. And that's what I did, and I had fun, and they had fun, and I lost any self-consciousness, which I hadn't had because I'd been rolling around on the, newspaper naked before. And so there, AA and I were doing whatever came to us. And interesting things happened during this gig. Now, first of all, I could go to the green room and read. That's what I love to do. So I was getting paid for, 4 shows a night and lots of reading. But I had to sell raffle tickets for Synanon. This was the time that we were doing all this stuff. And if you didn't sell them, they shamed you. And I thought, this is North Beach. And there are all these loose-pocketed tourists. So I trotted out on my break, and I was just turning coin hand over fist until I realized that I should be on the stage at the Roaring Twenties at that very moment. And I ran back, and I ran through the drinkers, and I stripped off my little poochy dress, and I kicked off my little heels. I was wearing the G-string, it was lucky. And AA looked at me, and he said, Neshama, you have been a very naughty girl, and you will have to be punished. And so a little S&M crept into the hippie dance of love. And then, he was a questing person. He liked to try things out. He said, Neshama, next time you do it without the G-string. I said, no, it's against the law. And he said, nobody could ever even see with the light show swirling on top of us. So you should have known that particular dance was like Egyptian, my legs were clamped together. I had no idea what a little piece of fabric, what protection it would give me. He didn't ask me to do that one again. Now, you may wonder what my husband felt of all this. I mean, by then he had long hair and he was, he had dropped out. But he was home with the kids. He was a house husband. He was a great guy. He came down and rolled around on the newspaper too. But I said, come and see our show. And he said, okay. So he sat there clutching his drink. And afterwards I came trotting up to him. I said, okay, John, what did you think? He said, Neshama, it's probably more fun to do than it is to watch. It was not exactly, an affirmation of my artistic flowering. But he said, nobody can even see you, with all those lights. And so on we went for a little while until real life caught up with me. Now, I thought that I had seized upon a brilliant career, 25 a night for only 4 shows. Could keep this going. I forgot about 3 things. One was time. It wasn't called the Summer of Love for nothing. And another was gravity, what would happen to this nubile body. And the third was, 2 toddlers. And so I'd come home, all excited, and I'd get maybe 4 hours sleep, and then I'd have to take them to, nursery school. And I had a couple of little fender benders, like that. And I realized that it was time for me to hand over my G-string to the next person in line, who was a woman named Meredith Monk. Now, she is an extraordinary choreographer, composer. She got a medal from Obama. She got a residency at Carnegie Hall. But then she wanted the Halpern experience. And so I handed my G-string to her. And she comes to the West Coast periodically, and I always try to check in with her. So there we were, sitting around the table post-performance, and she had all those acolytes with their kind of turtlenecks and their clever glasses. And she said, hey, Neshama, you remember when you gave me my first G-string? And their mouths just sagged open. Because you can never tell when you look at an old lady with frizzy gray hair what she's been up to. And also, this is my manifesto. Why is this stuff so alive to me? We're like Russian nesting dolls. Everything we've ever done is right inside us, Just twist off the top, and there it is.